Everyone is talking about people fleeing expensive Texas, about Austin cooling off and big city downtowns thinning out. But here is what almost nobody is covering. While the headlines watch the cities people are leaving, a handful of small Texas towns are growing so fast their roads, their schools, and even their water systems cannot keep up. New subdivisions are rising overnight on what was pasture a year ago. Schools that opened nearly empty are already spilling into portable buildings. Traffic that did not exist 2 summers ago is now bumper to bumper. In a single recent year, Texas added more new residents than any other state in America, and the 5 fastest growing cities in the entire country were all inside its borders. These are 10 Texas towns absorbing that explosion, and a few of them have already hit a wall. Let me break it down. In 10th place is Melissa, a small city pushing up the Highway 75 corridor north of McKinney. The draw is simple. Families priced out of Frisco and Prosper found new homes here, and Zillow puts the typical value around $435,000, far more house for the money. In a single year, the population jumped almost 15%, one of the fastest rates in the entire country. The strain shows first in the schools. The Melissa School District is so flush with new families that it built a $35 million football stadium for a high school that barely cracked 1,000 students, and it is still racing to add classrooms as fast as the rooftops appear. Zillow shows home values have actually slipped a little over the past year as builders flood the market with new inventory faster than buyers can absorb it. Melissa is the gentle version of what is coming. The towns ahead get far less gentle. Number 9 is Anna, just up the same highway, and Anna's growth chart looks less like a town and more like a rocket. Around the year 2000, fewer than 1,300 people lived here. Today, it is more than 22,000 and still climbing, a jump of more than 10% in just the last year. The magnet is affordability, and Zillow pegs the typical home value around $360,000 in a county where the famous suburbs run far higher. But the developments breaking ground now are enormous. One master-planned community alone is approved for 3,000 homes, another for nearly 2,000, and every one of those rooftops will pour onto the same narrow roads and into the same school district that were built for a quiet farm town. Anna is selling the dream of cheap new construction, and the infrastructure is sprinting just to stay inside of it. And if you think the road and classroom problems are bad, wait until you see what happens when a town runs low on the one thing it cannot build more of overnight. Number 8 is Leander, on the far northern edge of the Austin metro. And Leander is where the boom and the cool down are colliding at the same time. This was the drive until you qualify suburb, the place buyers pushed out to for newer homes and hill country views. Zillow puts the typical home value here around $457,000. But here is the twist. Because Zillow shows those values have fallen more than 15% over the past year, the steepest drop on this entire list. The reason is a flood of supply. Redfin shows there are more homes for sale in Leander than at almost any point in the past 5 years. Builders are stacking incentives, and houses that once sold in a weekend now sit for 3 months. Leander grew so fast that it overshot its own buyers, and now the commuter rail line and the toll road that feed it strain under a town that filled in faster than anyone planned. Number 7 is Hoatio, a few miles east. And Hutto is the first town on this list where the warning is not about roads or classrooms at all. It is about the pipes underground. Zillow and Redfin both put the typical home here around $350,000, down nearly 11% as new neighborhoods keep opening, including a single community of 2,800 homes. But the growth has outrun the sewer system so badly that the city has already broken ground on a wastewater expansion costing $180 million just to keep up. Water shortages have pushed utility bills higher and forced new fees onto every fresh rooftop. Hutto is the first clear sign that in Texas, a road can always be widened later, but the water and the sewer have to be solved now or the whole town stops. Number 6 is Forney, east of Dallas, sitting in what is now the fastest growing county in all of Texas. The numbers here are staggering. The population nearly doubled in a single decade and now tops 40,000, drawn by easy access to the interstate and a typical home value that Zillow puts around $344,000. But the real pressure is the classroom. The Forney School District has swelled from roughly 11,000 students to more than 18,000 in just a few years, and it is projected to pass 35,000 within a decade. To keep from drowning, voters approved one bond for $623 million and then another for more than $1.25 billion, building new campus after new campus. Forney is proof that even when a town plans ahead and does everything right, the sheer speed of Texas growth can still leave the bulldozers struggling to keep pace. And from here, the list only intensifies, because the next towns are not just crowded, they are running up against hard limits that money and asphalt alone cannot fix. Number 5 is Jarrell, a tiny dot on the interstate north of Austin that almost nobody had heard of 5 years ago. Then the growth came, and it came violently. The local school district nearly doubled in size in just 5 years, a jump of almost 100%, as families chased a typical home value that Zillow puts around $300,000, among the cheapest on this list. Part of the surge is a single enormous force just down the road, where Samsung is building a chip plant in nearby Taylor that will employ thousands. Jarrell was a farm town with barely a stoplight, and it is now trying to build schools, roads, and water lines fast enough for a population that is still accelerating. Zillow shows its home values have actually dropped about 10% as construction races ahead of buyers, the same pattern showing up again and again in these towns. Now stop for a second, because this next stretch is the part that matters most. If you are house hunting in one of these Texas metros right now, or you have already signed for a brand new home in a subdivision that is still half dirt, the final towns are the ones you most need to understand, because they show exactly what happens when growth stops being a headline and starts being a crisis. This is the part you came for. Number 4 is Georgetown, north of Austin, and Georgetown earned a title most cities only dream of. For 3 straight years, it was the single fastest growing city in the entire United States, and it now holds more than 86,000 residents. But that crown came with a bill that is now coming due, and it is measured in gallons. By the city's own planning, the demand for water in its service area is on track to outrun its supply before the end of this decade. During a recent drought, parts of town were pushed into severe water restrictions while one of its lakes fell to the lowest level in more than 30 years. The city is now scrambling, signing deals to pipe in groundwater from an aquifer more than 100 miles away and pouring $200 million into a new treatment plant. Redfin shows homes here listing around $440,000, but the real question is no longer the price of the house. It is whether the tap behind it keeps running, and that sets up the final 3. Because the next towns are where the growth got so far ahead of the plan that the people in charge did something almost unheard of in Texas. Stay right here, because the number 1 town on this list is the single fastest growing city in the entire country right now. And what is happening there is the clearest picture of growth completely out of control. Number 3 is Fulshear, west of Houston, the second fastest growing city in the whole nation last year, with a growth rate of 21%. This is a pricier boom, and Zillow's Home Value Index puts the typical home around $600,000 in sprawling, master-planned communities. The flashpoint is the schools. The local Lamar district is officially classified as a hypergrowth district, with enrollment projected to climb from roughly 49,000 students to more than 70,000 within a decade. To even attempt to keep up, voters there passed a school bond of nearly $2 billion, money to build 7 brand new elementary schools at once, plus a new high school, a new junior high, and a new middle school, all of it just to stay even with the children already moving in. When one school district has to plan for 20,000 more students, you are not watching a town grow. You are watching a small city appear out of nothing. Number 2 is Princeton, back north of Dallas, and Princeton did something so rare it made headlines across the country. It hit the brakes. After years of explosive growth that quadrupled its population, with the city now past 43,000 residents, Princeton's leaders looked at their own roads, water, and sewer lines and concluded they were operating at, near, or beyond capacity. So in the fall of 2024, the city did the almost unthinkable for a Texas boomtown. It passed a moratorium and simply stopped approving new housing. The police department said it needed 30 more officers just to serve the people already there. Even with all that supply frozen, Zillow and Redfin both put the typical home around $300,000, down nearly 8% over the past year. For a state built on the promise that you can always grow, a city slamming the door on new construction is the loudest alarm bell on this entire list. And it points straight at the town that started this whole wave. And in first place is Salina, the epicenter, the single fastest growing city in the entire United States, not once, but for 2 of the last 3 years. Let the numbers sink in. In the year 2010, about 6,000 people lived in Salina. Today, it is more than 64,000, and in just the last year, it grew by almost 25%. Adding more new residents than Seattle did, a city many times its size. Along nearly every street, construction is constant. Lots being cleared, frames going up, entire neighborhoods materializing where there was open prairie. Zillow puts the typical home value here around $560,000, while Redfin shows the median sale price has fallen even harder as thousands of homes sit on the market at once and builders try to keep selling into the surge. The Salina and Prosper school districts open new campus after new campus and still cannot build fast enough, while the Dallas North Tollway pushes ever further north to feed the flood of cars. Salina is not just growing fast, it is the fastest growing city in America, and it is the clearest portrait there is of a small town swallowed whole by its own success. Across all 10 of these towns, one truth stands out. The promise that pulls people in, the cheap land, the new homes, the good schools, the room to breathe, is real. But it arrives faster than the roads can be widened, faster than the classrooms can be built, faster than the water can be secured. Growth this fast is not a smooth climb. It is a town holding its breath and hoping the infrastructure catches up before something breaks. So I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me which of these towns you live in or near and what the growth has actually done to your daily commute or your child's school. If you moved to one of them in the last few years, tell me whether it lived up to the promise or buried you in traffic and construction dust. And tell me which town you think I ranked too high or too low. And if you want to know where this all goes next, hit subscribe and stay close. Because my next video breaks down the Texas towns where this same boom is about to reverse, the places where the cranes are already going quiet and prices are starting to fall first. Number 1 on that list might be a town you just watched climb this one. We will see you there.